So I know you're not big into like collecting consoles and playing consoles.
You keep saying that,
I
but
I know you like to play them, but you're not the typical guy.
I also have an NES, an SNES, a PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 2's around here somewhere. A PlayStation 4.
It's up here.
Yeah, that one. I think that's unearned. I mean, I have more consoles than most people.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people like to play consoles on like newer hardware, so that way you don't have to have big bubble TVs. They have the Retrons and stuff like that. They have these secondhand. Get off your phone, you skeezy scallywag.
I'm trying to share the damn link
Oh.
that you just posted. So
All right. Okay. I'll let it slide. When it comes to playing it on like more current stuff, they have all kinds of different hardware and stuff, but they also make mods for the consoles where you actually go into the console itself and you switch out I guess you do some soldering that you can put like an HDMI port in it. Some people are with it, some people are against it. I don't really I'm back and forth on it because it's like do you it's convenient, but also it's ruining your console. You're altering your console.
is it ruining it though?
I mean, that's why I'm so torn between it, because I like keeping things the way they should be, but I like things to be more convenient. So I'm literally just like, I don't know.
So for me, I think of it in the context of like, one, soldering on a PCB is not the easiest thing in the world. So there's definitely risk there for somebody who doesn't, solder circuit boards every day.
Yeah.
But for me, like the sense of ruining, does it ruin collectability? Yes, absolutely. It's nobody wants an original console with an HDMI port in it for the purpose of collecting it for that value.
Yeah.
But in the context of someone who actively uses that console to play those games, I kind of see it as, the market's flooded with HDMI capable devices, and that console, in the case of the NES we'll go with, is configured to output to a coax or, in some cases, in some very rare cases, RCA, the red, green, or the red, white, yellow.
Yeah.
Red, white, yellow are on some modern TVs. Some of them don't even have that anymore. Pretty sure coax is on like the majority of TVs still, just because of the digital aspect for antennas.
Yeah, and that's the way like the DirecTV boxes and stuff connect as well.
Right, yeah. And if I'm remembering correctly, the coax piece for Nintendo, and it was the same for the NES and the SNES, is like this little gray box that has, it's like a throughput, and then it's actually got the piece that plugs into the console, which is essentially just an RCA jack, single video RCA jack that, goes into there. I don't think it's ruining it if that's your purpose. I think it's really purpose driven.
Yeah, but then you mean that's when you can go with, having
a Retron,
these, like a Retron, or there's a ton of other ones that I think Analog makes some. They make really good stuff, but they're a little on the pricier side. Where I get into like modding consoles is handhelds, because the old Game Boy feels really good in your hands, like as an adult. It's a big, bulky machine that, like, everything is just smaller and more slim. So when it's like that, it gets to be I just lost my train of thought. When it's everything wants to be smaller, which makes it less comfortable in your hands, especially if you have like an average dude size hands. So with like the bigger the handheld is, the more comfortable it is for me to hold it for longer extended periods of time, like, you know, longer than 30 minutes to an hour. So when it comes to playing a handheld, like the analog Duo is basically like a brand new, like updated Game Boy, and they are slick, they're sick looking, they're really good from what I hear, but they're really expensive, and people have been like collecting them and just like buying them out, so it's hard to grab, and if you want to grab them, you're going to pay up for them. So when it comes to like a handheld, if you take a game like the original Game Boy, you can put a rechargeable battery port on it. You can change out the screen to a backlit or an LED screen, and it's good to go, which is like perfect. And I think it's like the screen's relatively easy to do. It's literally just like desoldering like two little connections and then putting it back on, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean so that's cool to me. Like when we said modding consoles, I thought you were talking about the guys that put like potentiometers on the sides of them so they can warp the color profiles and all that crazy stuff. But well, that's nonsense.
There's some people that will take like NESs and they'll put it's not like they'll like mold it and put like they'll build it out to replicate like they'll do like someone does like a Resident Evil one, and they'll put all this stuff on it to make it look like William Birkin's eye on the top of it, and it has all these like veins and stuff coming down, and people do some pretty wild stuff in terms of that, and I think that's really cool. But then again, you run into like that's one less of those consoles that exists now.
Well, yeah, I mean, like to what degree is it okay to bastardize something that is no longer in production? Like it's now a finite quantity.
Yeah.
And we understand that that's getting reduced. I don't think anybody really has a choice. You know, if you bought it, it's do what you want to do with it, you know, be happy with it. But recognize that in 10 years, if there's only 10 of them left, and the one that you did have, you decided to melt down in a microwave and turn into some weird, you know, dysfunctional Yoshi. Well, that's what you did with it. But back to the Game Boy thing, I think that's cool to, you know, mod the Game Boys, especially because, to your point, OG Game Boy was the, like, robust. I mean, yeah. I dropped mine more times than I can ever count.
I'm pretty sure they're in a museum. They have a original Game Boy that was from like the Gulf War, and it survived and it still works, and it's like all melted down and crisped.
That doesn't surprise me. You know, what does surprise me is that somebody out there hasn't partnered with Nintendo to make an app that basically puts a Game Boy on your mobile device. Well, like it displays it like that, and then you have all the games, and you can just pick what game you want to play, and like you literally hold your phone like this and play it like this.
Well, they just put a emulation on the App Store, well, an emulator on the App Store that you can emulate Game Boy games on, and it's exactly like that. You can hold it upright like that, and you can use the on-screen prompts. I mean, it's probably not comfortable to use, and I don't know the extent of like what you can connect controllers and stuff to with like Bluetooth or even with USB cable.
Well, if you're connecting a controller to a Game Boy, go away.
True, but we all know that the on-screen controls are poop.
Yeah, I mean, touchscreen isn't great for mechanical or things that were intended to be a mechanical control. You know, a button is a button.
You need the feedback.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if I would call it feedback. More, or we won't call it haptics, but we can call it feedback.
Yeah,
like
it's not
the whole this is down,
no.
This is up. It has two states: down, up.
Yeah, and you
down,
can feel
up
when you press the up, and you feel like it's definitely better when you feel the button.
Oh, yeah.
You
What?
snazzy dressed little man.
You had to point that out. This shirt makes me look fat as hell. I wish I had known that before I put it on this morning, because I went around so many people today, and I'm sure they were like, damn, look at him. He needs to fucking lose some weight.
People probably say that to me all the time.
Not that fat, man.
But I can see both sides of modding consoles, keeping them stock. Like, it's really one or the other. I don't necessarily feel strongly of certain ways of doing it. I really don't. But I think, for me, I like just having things just normal.
I'm not frying anything. I mean,
You can also get, like, upscalers, too. Like, they make cables that you connect to your... I think it's a cable that you connect into your video out of your console, and it goes to HDMI, and it has like an external box that has power, and it'll power it so that it can upscale it. I've never used them, but they're everywhere.
I mean, the root of all this, many millennia ago, somewhere, somehow, somebody that couldn't speak English and didn't even know what it was because it wasn't a thing yet, decided, I want this cave to be what I like. And ever since then, humanity has just been saying, how can I make this great product something that defines me?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what this is.
Everybody has their preferences. So, oh wow, Steam notification. That's cool.
Steam!
So,
Hey, it's Carl.
there's
Stay out of my
another
pool.
thing. I forget who I was listening to, but they were talking about how, like, when we were kids and we played games, you know, on the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 1, even the PlayStation 2, and some of the PlayStation 3. You have these games that you have nostalgia for. These games that you grew up playing, that you still play to this day, and you can go back to and play over and over and over and over and over again. And it's just like your comfort. Like, for me, my comfort would be Resident Evil 2. Like, I can play that game so many times and never get tired of it. It just takes me back to a time where it was just like hanging out with my friends, having sleepovers, and we would just play Resident Evil 2. That is just one of my go-tos if I don't know what to play or what have you. And with those kinds of games that we have nostalgia for, we can put them on at any point that we want. You could go buy a PlayStation tomorrow and go to a game store and pick up a copy of Resident Evil 2, and you can take it home, and you can sit down with whoever you want, and you can play it right there on the spot, no issue. The issue that we're running into now in the current gen consoles is the, teenagers, early adults that are playing these games like Destiny or basically any game that has any sort of multiplayer or online function or requires online to play. Eventually, those servers are going to close, which will then render that game completely unplayable. So when you want to get nostalgic and sit down and show your kids at some point in your life what you play, or you can share that moment with your kids, you're not going to be able to for a good chunk of the games.
Yeah, and so this is a bigger problem, right? Originally, I think the idea with multiplayer wasn't really this whole, okay, you have your servers, you have your servers, you have your servers, you have your servers. Because from an IT perspective, we're moving further and further away from, distinct groups having brick and mortar data centers for servers, and racks of hardware that they spend ungodly amounts of money on, and just doing the same thing but spinning it up in AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. It's literally the same thing, just Google owns the servers and you rent them from them, essentially.
Yeah.
So if they were to migrate to that kind of a solution, at that point it wouldn't be as big of a problem, because they would have the image, or I don't think image is the word that we use anymore in the industry, but essentially a template for how to spin that server up, and all you would have to do is just be like, hey, this weekend play Destiny, and it's there.
Yeah.
But with them having their own servers, it is a big problem, because 10 years from now, people aren't going to be playing Destiny.
No, but that.
But the people will want to.
If that was
to
something that you played, when you were younger, not speaking to you per se, but speaking to a 16-year-old now who is just like gung ho on Destiny. That's his game. That's the game he wants to play. By the time he has kids, Destiny is going to be not even in anybody's radar. It's not going to be a thing.
Well,
probably.
I think the root there is it's not going to be cost efficient or lucrative to expend that, on keeping it alive for multiplayer.
Yeah.
Just so this limited group of people can, then go and enjoy it. There will be a group of people that want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But Destiny, it doesn't make sense for the developer to lose money to make that available, which is why we need avenues. Which
is what I think, like, at some point in the near future, they should figure out, well, they already know how to, but they should be able to host your own servers so that people can play. Like, it takes me back to, I think we talked about it before on the podcast, when I was talking about how I get that little bit of anxiety sometimes where I remember that one of my favorite games of all time is old school RuneScape, and that's like, I always go back to it at some point. I always pick it up to play it at some point. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. It comes in waves. So I remember, like, that's an online game. I can't play that on my own. If the servers go down, it's done. So if they figured out a way to allow people to host their own servers when the game is done and the developer no longer supports it, then you can either play it by yourself, because you can play old school RuneScape by yourself. You're skilling, you're grinding, you're just doing quests. You don't have to do it in groups, but there are benefits to playing in groups. It makes it less boring at some points, because it's literally just a grind. So, but you have raids that you can do. You have boss fights you can do that are groups. They have group Iron Man that you can do. There's a bunch of things that you can do. You can do group Slayer. There's so many things you can do as a group, or you can just sit around, be in a Discord server talking to people while you're grinding, or share your stories about the loot that you just got, etc. Like, there's benefits to playing it with a group.
Well, and that's the thing where it's like, if these games had the functionality to integrate with a feature like that, and let's say Bungie for Destiny 2 partners with AWS and makes a game server available as one of the options that you can just spin up from EC2. At that point, anybody with an AWS account can pick that, spin it up. They're paying for it. Bungie's not paying for it. And then all they have to do is make the network details available to whoever wants to play with them. And as long as the game has that functionality coded into it, people could theoretically just go in and say, oh, I want to go to Brandon's server and play.
So
and here's the passcode. And
I was watching this guy, Mystic. His name's Ryan on YouTube. He's a PlayStation guy. He covers PlayStation news. he has these things that he does every so often where he goes on the PS3 and he visits old PS3 games to see if anybody's still playing them. And he got on, it was some niche shooter. And I don't remember what, but it was some niche shooter that has a cult following. This dude was on Reddit, found this community that like loves the game, still plays it. They have a Discord server, and every so often they have these massive play sessions where a bunch of people log into the server and they all play. Now, the PlayStation 3 still has the servers up for a majority of the games, I think. But that will eventually end, so when that ends, what's going to happen? Which is why I think it's a good idea to take these popular games from that PS3, Xbox 360 era and port them to, you know, a more current gen console, because then you're allowing people to continue to play these games online, because not everybody plays it when it's popular. Some people pick it up later. Some people, you know, just can't afford it until it becomes a $5 game. You know, they're extremely poor, etc. They don't get the console until it's really, really, really affordable.
Right. And, I mean, the other concept is, you know, if, in fact, these companies are still doing brick and mortar or on-premises type data centers, I really hope or believe that most of them have probably already pivoted to cloud architecture, but maybe not. Once you buy a server, unless they're like renting these at, you know, like a data center that is purpose built for, you know, providing servers to on like a lease basis, if they actually bought the hardware, once you buy it, unless you have another use for it, oh.
Your daughter fell down the stairs. It sounds like she's okay.
Yeah, I mean, if she wasn't okay, I'm sure she would be screaming or crying, or coming down here.
Hopefully my stairs are okay.
It does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. Where was I? Oh, once they buy it, they own it. So unless they want to like repurpose that for something else, there's no reason to decommission it.
Yeah.
Other than, you know, the electricity to run it, or, you know, maybe the connectivity, the maintenance cost, and just the patching and stuff. But by the time they need it again, they're probably going to want a new piece of equipment anyway.
Yeah. So we talked in that conversation. We talked about grinding and how some games require.
Wait, where are you going with this?
Not where you think. Some games require you to grind, and some games are a long grind.
This is getting real dirty, and I need to know if I need to excuse myself.
So Sony patented a feature called Autoplay, where AI will play the games for you. It'll use the cloud, it'll track how you play your games, and then when you turn autoplay on, it will play the games like you play the games. So it'll simulate you playing the games. It's been mixed, to say the least.
No, what it is canceled.
So they talk about... So I can see it for like a grind.
No. Nope.
But
hard pass.
I can see why it's so controversial. Because,
bro, let me put my game on autopilot real quick so I can grind through this.
So that's where it sucks, because
piss off, play your damn game. Put in the time. This is like Rewind.
Yeah. You had to bring up the Rewind. So I'm going to go back to my old stomping grounds, RuneScape. Back in the day, people used what you used to use it was against the rules, but you could use a ghost mouse.
That was against the rules?
Yes, which would track your clicks.
So that was against the rules.
Yes, it was against the rules, Andy. You could record your mouse clicking.
Yeah, it was a macro.
And then you would play it so it would click, and you could do these menial tasks like, wood cutting, picking flax, cutting your wood into bows and stringing bows for just train fletching and stuff. Like, it's because RuneScape is a huge, huge, huge grind.
And it was against the rules.
And it was against the rules. But now I think they're starting to get a little more lenient on not botting per se, but they're really allowing third-party programs to be used. So the most popular one is RuneLite. And what that has is it has a bunch of tools that are on the right where it has experience tracker. It's got this one that's absolutely incredible. It's quest helper. So it will literally help you navigate through the quest. It'll give you arrows to point you in the right direction. It'll tell you exactly what you need for the quest, exactly when you need it for the quest, because nobody likes doing quests in RuneScape.
Okay, so that to me is like a virtual, not even virtual, but an on-screen version of a strategy guide.
But kind of, yes.
This, to me, is downright laziness.
Yes, I can agree, but
this is horrible.
I don't think that
the game manufacturer is now literally giving you something to play the game that they built for you, that you paid them to buy. Here, take this, and you can watch it get played too.
That's where it kind of sucks.
Hi, Sony. My name's Andy. Let me turn around so you can bend me over. No, just
so when it a lot of people that have a problem with it are the trophy hunting community, because that literally just eliminates everything. The whole point of getting trophies. People hack trophies all the time. It's a big problem. Well, not a big problem, but the sites that track trophies, and they have these trophy hunting communities and stuff like that, and leaderboards, etc. They have to find the people that cheat, and they have to report them, and then they ban them from the leaderboards. So with this whole autoplay, I shouldn't say I like it. I understand it for these super grinds of getting materials to build certain things, because there are times where I'm on a grind and it's not AFK, but it's not attention grabbing. It's just in that middle ground of I have to be attentive because I can't not do it, or I have to watch because I might die, or I'm in a dangerous area.
But those grinds are grinds. They are what they are for a reason. As the game developer, I don't think they just sit there and say, here, can we make this guy go through 3 hours of dumb shit just for the pure sake of doing dumb shit. It's when you stop and look at a bigger picture of how video games align to us as people, that grind, is representative of discipline, of tenacity, of, fighting through the... What the hell just happened? Uh-oh. Anyway, but to my point, fighting through the urge to just say, screw this is too much, to get to that next reward, which all of those things are core values in life. You know, they're core character traits that we try to instill in our children and we try to instill in ourselves. And I feel like if you remove that aspect of video gaming, one, you're teaching whoever uses it that it's okay to be lazy. Which, yeah, are there times it's okay to be lazy? Sure. But, you know, that's not really like a concept that you want to perpetuate throughout America in society, that, oh, well, whatever we can do to be lazier is a great thing because it's less work I have to do. No, the work, like, that's a thing. It's always been a thing. And it's always going to be a thing. And unless we continue to teach our children and teach, you know, everybody and each other that we need to put forth the effort for what we want, it fosters entitlement. It fosters, you know, it's just bad juju.
I can see that, and it would definitely be a feature that would be abusable, and it would just become like the way to play games. So
yeah, it's ludicrous to me to think that I'm going to actually, because I guarantee you, if they're patenting it, you're going to pay for it. Like, they're not just going to be like, oh, here.
Yeah, I don't know if they patented it for like a feature for the next PlayStation console, or if they patented it for a feature that will be coming to the current PlayStation consoles.
I mean, the patent might not even be PlayStation centric. The patent could be just on the concept, or, you know, really the implementation of the concept so that nobody else can use that. And then they have to say, oh, hey, Sony, we want to, you know, do autoplay on so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then they pay a licensing fee to Sony to use that model. Either way, the only reason to patent something is to protect money.
Yeah. So,
or an idea. I mean, some people do it for principle. I'll acknowledge that case, but most people, you know, principle, it's like, nah, man. I just want to make sure the guy down the street doesn't make money off of it.
I think the reason that this exists and is becoming a thing is, one, AI is just getting out of control, like, for everything. But I think it's also because, one, games are coming out much more rapidly. So, like, everybody's just trying to play a million games at once, and you have these games that are grinds that they play with their friends, and then there's these single player experiences that they want to play because it's the next big thing, and it's the next big story, it's the next big thing, blah blah blah. Everybody's talking about it.
That's not a game problem.
No, it's not.
That's an everything problem.
Yes, and there's TV shows that people want to watch. There's all of this stuff just being thrown into your, like, just pushed and pushed and pushed, and everybody has FOMO. It's a huge problem now because things are coming at such a rapid pace from every which direction.
I'm gonna miss out.
I experience it myself, you know, when there's a game that comes out, and then there's a show that I want to watch, but then there's a movie I want to watch, but then I also want to play old games, and that, like, I'm trying, and I want to play, you know, a grindy game, but I don't want to put all this time into this because I want to put that time to be used playing other game, and it's this massive issue. So, like, the good thing about my grindy game is I can do it while I do other stuff, because they do have things where, like, you click and things, and it'll go through the inventory that you have, and it will do everything in your inventory, and then it will wait for you to click again. So you could be working in an office and have it on your off screen and be doing work in your office, and you could be, you know, grinding levels on your account by literally just clicking a few things and then coming back, waiting a couple of minutes, going back, clicking another couple of things, coming back, and it's very passive.
So if progress through a game is what's important to you, I strongly urge you to reconsider why you're gaming in the first place.
Well,
but
they're literally, so just to give you perspective into, because you have no experience with RuneScape, correct?
I mean, I did WoW for a while. I hear that's pretty similar.
So people literally they don't. Some people say they don't even play RuneScape. They play the number go up game. So to get from level 0 to 60 is lightning fast. You could if you have like if I wanted to, I could build an account for you to play on like that with no issue. But when you get to higher levels, when you get to 99, like level 90, 99 is the max level. If you get to 90 and you go to 99, to get from 90 to 99 is the same amount of time it takes to get from 1 to 90.
Right.
It's insane. The experience is so high. The grind is so much.
No, it's an exponential curve. It's about the journey, not
Yes, it
the
is.
number.
It is about the journey. I will give you that. But sometimes you just want to get to that end of that journey so you can begin the next journey.
I get that.
And it's a lot of time you have to put into it.
But again, if you use autoplay to get to 99, did you really do it? No.
That's the thing.
Like so it learns how you play the game. Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of a wild thing in itself
I don't
because
like that.
game.
Don't.
Well, that's AI for you.
I know,
AI at its root is learning from what you give it, and it looks for patterns. It looks for commonalities between different pieces of data. And then it makes these connections and says, okay, this does this, and this is related to this, and this is related to this. ChatGPT could be poisoned if we fed it enough bullshit. Because once the bullshit outnumbers the truths, the bullshit becomes the truth to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why AI is so horrible and deepfakes are so horrible, because AI is only as intelligent as what you put into it.
Yeah.
If you put in mounds upon mounds of falsehoods, it's going to spew that out like it's gospel.
Yeah.
And people are going to believe it.
People are becoming that now. They don't look at stuff. They share all this stuff on social media, and then it becomes the truth to them, even though it's not the truth.
That's because it's on the internet, bro. It's true. Like
It's on the internet. It's true. Didn't you know?
So you think back to when we were kids. What did we have for reference material? We had encyclopedias, dictionaries, the library full of what books.
Yeah.
Books take money to print. They take publishing. There's a process in place. There's vetting. People read that shit before they go and put 10,000 of them out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
The internet, one post, 100,000 people see it without anybody saying twice, this is right.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's canon, and it's like, gets back to the original person. I never frickin' did that. There are videos out there now of the two morons going back and forth. And they're not even real. They're deep fakes of these guys saying stuff
the deep fakes are crazy.
Yeah, and they're saying like this wild stuff, and then you have, the other side saying, look at this, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
And both are doing it.
The internet is a dangerous place if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know how to read into it. But it's like when we were, like you said, when we were kids, you had to go out of your way to figure something out. So if we were on the playground and we had our Game Boys out, or we were talking about playing our Game Boys or whatever, and it was like, dude, I caught Mew underneath the truck in Pokemon Red or whatever, and it's like, no, and then you had to try and figure out if that was a thing or not. Now you can just hop on the internet and be like, oh yeah, it's not a thing. It's not real.
Yeah, I mean, you can vet things quite easily, but at the same time, again, I guess humanity just lost the sense of if it smells like shit, it's probably shit. And, granted, there's a lot out there that's far-fetched because we're learning more and we're exploring some different, abstract areas, but that really is the root of it.
Mic a little bit over there, so you're not.
common sense is not common and it's expensive. But if you have a high school education, you should be able to at least figure out when that's skeptical and worth a second look. And I don't think anybody wants to apply that effort for that second look anymore.
No, which is what makes the more advanced technology gets, especially with AI and what AI can do to impersonate a human, because that's, you know, what it's doing. And like their AI is good for, you know, certain things for sure. You know, like
everything has its place.
Everything has its place. You know, AI is good in its place, but when you start to have it track the way that a person is playing a game, or tracking how, like, just like when it comes to tracking certain things, it's just like, I think we should probably leave that alone.
Well, that's the thing about tracking. If you want AI to be able to look at data and really establish patterns from it, you need to store all that data somewhere. And once that data is stored, what do you think happens to it? You think it just gets blown away?
No.
Google Maps tracks you everywhere you go unless you go in and turn it off. It's a default setting.
Yeah.
You can literally go and look at your history and see a little line of everywhere you've been for the past week, month.
Mm-hmm.
That shit's surfaced to virtually any police department that wants it if they send a request to Google.
Yeah.
Apple Maps, as I understand, does not do that. But and
I hate
to
Apple
that
Maps
point,
so much.
it's not as great. But
I hate it so much.
What do you value, privacy or functionality?
That's a tough one.
And please, if I misspoke about the Google Maps thing as far as any of that context, somebody please in comments, clarify or provide links or something. It may have changed since I last looked into it, and I want to caveat that I'm not speaking canon. I'm not, this is not John 3:16, but the last time I looked at it, that's what it was.
Is it bad that every time I hear someone say John 3:16,
and you think of Steve Austin.
I think of the Stone Cold promo where he's just like,
talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
it automatically at that point.
One crazy.
So we're gonna lighten it up here a little bit, Andy.
Are we?
What's your favorite ballpark food?
Shit. No, not that. That's hard. So I haven't been to a ballpark in a long time. I mean, I've been to like the Rev Stadium, but I'm about to get flamed. I don't really count that.
I don't count it.
So it's fun, but that's not no. Nachos are awesome. They're usually pretty good.
The ball helmets.
Yeah, the ball helmets are like even just a tray. But you can get them anywhere, so they're not like special.
So many of those, because I want to say every year we would go to a Orioles game with the baseball league, and you would get the helmets with like the ice cream in it, and you'd have it as a souvenir. So we just had like this collection of them at the house.
The mini helmets, yeah. After you pay $8 for one scoop of ice cream.
Yeah. It's a toss-up.
So,
it's a toss-up for me, I'll tell you that.
It's definitely a ballpark hot dog. But not the cheap one, like the $3 one. Yeah. It's got to be the $6 one, like the the big fat thing.
Yeah, the one that's too long, where you're walking around with it in two hands, and you're just like, I don't know how this looks eating this. Yeah,
exactly. That's like the iconic ballpark food. I mean, if you're at the ballpark, I don't really drink anymore.
Beers are so expensive.
They're like $12 this year, maybe 13. But to that point, soda's like $8. But ballparks usually have a pretty good selection of beer as you go around the concourse, and one place might have like an IPA and a couple lagers. You go around the corner, and it's 5 or 6 IPAs on a wall, and beer is a staple for ballparks.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a nice beer.
Actually, We'll get there. We'll get there in a minute.
So mine's a toss-up between the classic ballpark hot dog with like fries and then have like a nice beer. But I also am pretty keen on the chicken tenders and fries that you can get too. The problem that I have there is they give you all the stuff on like this platter, and you don't really have a convenient spot to put your little dip. And everybody likes to dip their tenders in something different than their French fries. At least for me, I don't like to dip my. I dip my tenders in ketchup for sure, but if I'm choosing a sauce for my tenders, it's barbecue sauce or it's like a buffalo sauce or maybe even a ranch. But the fries, ketchup only.
You just named all the sauces.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I actually totally forgot. I am completely pivoting away from the hot dog. Hot dogs, nope. Like they're good, but
it's the ballpark food.
No, not if you're an Oriole fan. The ballpark food, if you are an Oriole fan, is a Boog's roast beef sandwich with the Old Bay fries and coleslaw and fries. I already said fries, but like if you're an O's fan and you've been to Boog's barbecue out on Utah Street, like behind center field.
That's right when you come in the gate, right?
Depending on which gate you go in, yeah. But it's like
when
right there at the warehouse.
It's like the back gate. If you took the light rail to get in, at the gate that you go in right there, it's like a little side gate. You walk across the street that has like the F1 race parts in it. The gate, you go in the gate. There's the stand right there. There's the shops to your left.
Yep.
And then you can go to center field, the little
tent.
standing area.
The tent. Yeah, so if you didn't get stabbed on the light rail and you made it that far, that's where it's at.
The light rail is the most convenient way to get there, but boy, is it sketchy.
It's...
I said the last time we went to an Orioles game, the light rail seat right above me, it was written in Sharpie. It was just somebody saying, it said in Sharpie, I got my dick sucked here. Imagine being the dude that just happened to, and you're just like, hold up, gotta document this. And you just scratch it in Sharpie.
First off, I'm willing to bet that didn't happen.
Probably not.
It was probably just like dude, look at this, but you like to think it did.
I like to think that he just popped off and was just like,
oh, God.
Hold on. And he doesn't take the cap off the Sharpie like this. He does the bite down and pull it and then writes it.
Not even touching this. America, do better. But yeah, the Boogs and the beer. Oh, the beer with the Boogs and the...
I think I need to go to an Orioles game now. I need to go to Camden Yards.
Yo, they're playing the Nats this weekend.
That's Mother's Day weekend.
So what?
Not gonna fly.
I'll make it fly.
Yeah, I'm sure. What's your favorite ballpark? I know. I something in my bones tells me that you're gonna say Dodger Stadium, like a loser.
I have been to Dodger Stadium, and it's pretty awesome.
What is the name of their ballpark anyway?
Dodger Stadium.
Is it Dodger Stadium?
Yeah. It's actually still the same stadium that the '66 Orioles won the World Series in Game 4, and that's why I like it, because it's like, holy crap! 50 years ago, they like did that here, like on that mound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, while I'm standing there with $25 worth of margaritas in two hands. And the margaritas at Dodger Stadium are always blue, of course. And they're delicious. Like they make them well. The ballpark is so endearing. The drive to it, not so much. We got out of the Uber probably about a half mile before we got there and walked the rest of the way. Like, we literally got out, and the guy was like, hey, what you do? And I'm like, peace, man. I got to get there for first pitch. Because it's 5 lanes or 6 lanes of bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way up the hill. And then you've got the palm trees all around. And it's very cool. But Camden Yards, man. Like, Camden Yards, honestly, I've heard that, like, even to this day, only PNC Park out in Pittsburgh is better. Mm-hmm. I've never been to PNC Park. I don't like Pittsburgh, so Camden Yards all the way.
I think I've only been to Camden Yards, but I do have the internet. So I'm sure when you go into any ballpark, you have that. When you get there, you have that initial, like, when you can see the overview of the park, and you're just like, you can get that smell of the ballpark, and you're like, yeah, this is it.
You never been to Citizens Bank Park?
Mm-mm.
The Phillies? Really?
Nope.
Don't go.
I hear it's kind of nice.
Don't go.
I don't have.
Don't go.
The only other ballpark that I really want to go to is Fenway.
When you want to go?
Yesterday.
Okay. I mean, we can't go yesterday, but we can, like, dude, you just say it and we're there.
Yeah, I would love to go to Fenway. Alicia also wants to go to Fenway.
We're going to have to talk about that one.
But yeah, Fenway I really want to go to, but if I could you ain't going without me. See?
We're going to have to talk about that.
I
know you did. I was talking to you.
I definitely Camden Yards all the way for me. I've been going there since I was a kid. Play with my baseball teams, with my t-ball teams. I went there with my dad a bunch. Like, Camden Yards, it doesn't get any better. I mean, it's got the aesthetic of a ballpark. It's got the aesthetic of, like, the old ballpark kind of feel, the look. It's just classic. For me, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Well, and they took out all those seats in left field to extend it so that way there were less home runs.
And you have the little the plates on the ground where home runs hit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean on Utah Street, like the little plates where all the balls hit? Yeah.
Yep. And it has the player and when they did it and stuff like that. Like, I haven't been to Camden Yards in years. But I literally, you were telling me the roast beef stand, and I knew exactly where it was and exactly the layout of that ballpark.
Are we allowed to go to Camden Yards without you? I mean, I don't mind bringing you. I just don't particularly want to cart the girls down to Baltimore. Like,
oh, we got the go ahead. We can go to Camden Yards by ourselves.
It's not a personal me you thing. It's a like.
We want as little casualties in a bad situation as possible.
I'd feel really bad if one of the girls like got hurt in Baltimore. I mean,
I do want to take Lydia to Camden Yards at some point.
Well, yeah, we can do that after we buy the armored car.
Yeah. But I got to go back down because Baltimore is changing drastically, and it's in good parts. It's getting worse. In the parts where it used to be good. So.
I was just there last night.
And
yeah, literally, like I was across the street from Camden Yards.
Oh.
Cheesecake Factory food. The Cheesecake Factory in Towson's better than the one at the Inner Harbor.
Inner Harbor has gone downhill bad.
They're getting ready to wreck that.
What?
They're leveling it.
What?
The Inner Harbor.
Why?
To rebuild it in a different format.
Oh, boy. But in my personal opinion, to put an end to this topic, is there is no better sport to watch live than baseball, and I will fight anybody, and I will die on that hill.
Nope. You ever been to hockey?
Yes, I have.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You've been to an NHL game?
I haven't been to an NHL game.
Okay, yeah. You would. I mean, the Flyers are out of the playoffs at this point if they even made it.
All right, hold on.
Cough, cough.
So here's ideal Boston trip.
You say Bruins, I'm going to kick you in the nuts.
Ideal Boston trip, we see the Bruins play, and we see the Red Sox play.
Only if we can go to Cheers too.
What? I don't even. What
The
is
bar?
Oh, that's in Boston? I did.
Holy shit.
Where everybody knows your name. Dude,
I would be down for that. I don't like.
Is there how far does hockey cross over baseball?
Not far. So baseball starts at like the end of March. You basically have April, unless they're in the playoffs, in which case you're paying.
Yeah.
That's not for you. That's my. I just got excluded.
If we
got problems.
If we had Bruins game and Red Sox game, it would be a collective trip.
I'm taking my ass to Hawaii and ain't bringing you. How's that?
Everybody would be going on that trip. That's because that would be insane. Going to Fenway and then to see the Bruins play.
That would be wild.
That would be wild. In the same weekend or the same 2 days. That would be insane.
But what?
What
motion were you just doing?
I have no idea.
Oh, it just looked really wrong. You had like both hands right out in front of you. You were like going up and down. At any rate, yeah, that would be a great trip. But we got to go see the Flyers Pens because they hate each other.
I'd see the Pens game.
They literally put Pens players' pictures in the urinals.
I'd see that. Another big topic at the time of this recording, or live stream, whichever you want to say, is the Xbox 360 store shutting down.
Yay!
So that means that you won't be able to buy any games on the Xbox 360 store. I think it's shutting down in July. With marketplaces shutting down, like the Wii U shop, the 3DS shop, the Xbox 360 shop, any shop that's closed down, does it really affect the prices in the long term? When you look at, the Wii shop closed how long ago? Like the original Wii. There's not many super expensive Wii games. There's not really many good Wii games to even have that. There are a handful for sure. But in the terms of like the Wii U, when that store was shutting down and when it first closed, people were going nuts, just buying up all the Wii U stuff that they could buy. The games were through the roof. Stupid games were like stupid prices. It was insane. I think it's kind of settled down now. It's not terribly old yet. Like, it's not, many years down the line. The 3DS was the same way. When that store was closing, people were buying a bunch of 3DS stuff and
You have the mouse.
this and that.
Heart that comment.
And so you made me lose my train of thought.
Cool, I can answer this. So, yes. Because when you close an online shop, you are directly impacting the supply of a game. You are, taking it from... Because online shops, that's the glory of the online shop. A throated one. Okay. They have indefinite supply.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a finite number of licenses that you're going to disperse for a game from an online store. When you close that, when it's end of life, when it's done, suddenly it goes back to vintage times where only physical copies, anything that's been produced, is your supply. Unless they, make it again.
Yeah.
So what happens when supply is limited or supply goes down? Prices increase. That's like foundational. And I think when you add the term long-term to it, brings a different aspect.
Yeah.
You know, what are we talking about long-term? 10 years, 20 years, 100 years? In 100 years, these things are going to be literally Frisbees.
Well, I would say probably about 10 years. Like, give it some time, but obviously not a crazy amount of time, because that it has to have staying power first, and it has to have demand.
Right.
Demand needs to drive to have these prices stay where they're at. So, like, I'm just gonna grab the first thing that comes to mind. So, this game here, The Last Remnant.
It's already a Frisbee.
I believe that this game it was an Xbox 360 exclusive, I think.
It's a Frisbee.
But so the only way you could play that was on the 360. If I'm remembering correctly.
Well, no, you could throw it in the yard.
Well, yeah. So that game, I don't think it was very popular. I don't think it sold well. I don't think many people go to the 360 and they're like, The Last Remnant. It for sure has its following. Definitely. Every game has their following. There's some select people that like that game. Now, with the Xbox 360 store closing, the only way to grab that game
Is to knock your hand on the mic stand.
is to pick it up physically.
Right.
There's going to be some sort of inflation on those types of games, the ones that you could only play on the 360, and the very niche, limited games that came out for the 360. Long term, 10 years down the line, when everybody's over the fact that the 360 I can't speak. When the 360 store is closed, it's on no one's mind. People aren't making YouTube videos about it. People aren't telling you to rush out and buy it. When that settles and all of that goes, I believe that the 360 prices are going to stabilize pretty hard, and I believe that those prices are going to settle.
So what happens to volatility after an extended period of time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does exactly that. You know, it settles down. It kind of, tapers off. 10 years from now, all these games are going to be worth $1 anyway. Except for like a select handful.
I wouldn't go as far as saying they're going to be $1, but they're going to be back to what they cost basically like now. Like, there are some games that are $5 games. There's some games that are $1 games.
They're going to be $1.
Like $10, $20, depending on like the popularity, how many people want it. Again, demand.
Grab that game. I don't want it. You keep it. You're the customer. I'm the store owner. You come to me and ask me how much it is.
How much is this game, Andy?
Hey, boy, they just closed the Xbox 360 store, so that's going to be $10 today.
I'll gladly pay $10. I think this is more than $10.
You're going to pay $10 for that?
Sure.
I'll give it to you for $15.
No, I think I'll go with the original 10.
No, I think we're at 15. They're closing the store tomorrow.
Oh, well, I think it's still underpriced, so I'll pay 15. I think this is like a $20, $25 game. I could be wrong.
I don't understand how it's a $20, $25 game, but
RPG. It's a Square Enix game.
Hey, boy, you gonna buy that game or not? You can still buy it on the Xbox store tonight.
It probably costs way more to buy it on the 360 store. Now I need to see how much that game costs, because now we're talking about like the inflation. The Last Remnant.
We have one concurrent viewer. Show of hands of how many people want to bring down the 360 store tomorrow.
That is a $10 game.
Oh, I knew my shit after all.
You were dead on.
Hey, boy, you still want that $15 game?
I think I'll give you $5 now. Yeah, but with the 360 store, like, I think and stuff, prices are gonna steadily decline, especially on these games that have been driven up by everybody just, shoving it down your throat.
Here's the reality. What do you do with a gateway computer?
Who has a game? I don't even remember the last time I saw a gateway computer.
What do you do with one?
You throw it in the garbage. Well, technically you recycle it.
What do you think you're going to do with an Xbox 360 one day?
Hey, now.
It's true.
No.
Dude,
Hush.
even the NES, like, when Lydia age,
Retirement age?
or Adelaide, Xbox 360 will not be on anybody's mind.
It's always going to, with how video games are, and the fact that the NES is still prevalent in history and still is talked about even outside of like the gaming culture. Yes, was the NES a very special time in history for gaming? Sure. But it's the 360, you could argue, also has probably a bigger impact than the NES did. By the time, we are at that age.
What do you mean we?
Well, when we...
You and me are going to be dirt at that point.
Yeah, but I'm talking like however old because the NES, came out in 85?
The NES ain't going to be a thing by the time you and I are retirement age.
I think in the gaming aspect...
Maybe like very, very few.
I'd argue that.
Model T. How many people have those?
Who can afford to have those?
The same thing's going to happen.
You think that eventually when we're 90 years old, if we make it that far...
The NES consoles that are left are going to be like $1,000 or $2,000 or something ridiculous. There's not going to be many of them because the ones that did get to hang around are going to get destroyed.
That's an interesting thing to think about. Is what that will be in another 50 years, or what what certain consoles are going to be like in 50 years, 60 years, 100 years.
How much is a printing press from 1734 worth?
I'm not in the printing press collecting game.
I don't even know if they were invented then. But my point is, like, the older it gets, the less you have around, and the more valuable it becomes because of its rarity, not because of its desirability.
Well, the thing about games now is games are no longer just games. They are now considered collectibles. They are. But if you want to believe it or not, look how many people buy and resell games on Facebook Marketplace nowadays. It's absurd. Look at how many reselling channels there are on YouTube. It's wild.
Yeah, but that's still representative of a niche.
Yes, it's collecting. Baseball cards, Pokemon cards, Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They're all a niche. They're all collectibles.
Right, but if you take baseball cards and compare that to, say, Pokemon card collectors, I'm willing to bet you it's probably even now. But, if you compared it 15 years ago, there would be significantly more baseball card collectors than Pokemon card collectors.
Yeah.
In the scope of things, when you consider how many people actually collect games versus how many people there are in the United States, i.e. 330 million, I think was the last number I saw, compared to the 8 billion people in the world,
yeah,
it's tiny.
It's a niche, for sure, but it's a pretty big niche.
Isn't that pronounced niche?
I think it's niche.
It's like quiche? Do you have any quiche?
I have a quiche.
Oy.
I think, with how prevalent gaming is now, it is definitely a more widely accepted thing to do.
Accepted?
Back when we were kids, if you were a gamer, you were a nerd.
That's horseshit.
We talked about that at length.
they made fun of you for it, but it didn't really equivalent to anything, because even if you didn't play video games and talk about it, you still had a console at home and went home and played it. Like every guy,
but there were a lot of kids that were just like, I can't let them know that.
Yo, every pair of dick and balls that I knew had a video game console. Literally everyone.
When I was in high school,
Like, we had 6 PlayStations in my neighborhood. Well, why did we need that? Well, we could all just went to one person's house, but
I guess, yeah. But I think I think the 360.
Your wife left.
Yeah, she bounced. She's probably eating food. The games are collectibles. They're always going to be in the market at some point to some capacity, whether it's Xbox 360, whether it's Nintendo. It's just where will the prices of some of these things go down the line, now that these marketplaces are closed, and along with like the Wii and the Wii U and the 3DS, like that's getting rid of ways to play these classic games. But then you also go to current gen with the Switch, they bring those back. Hopefully with, Xbox One and their backwards compatibility, they can bring some of those games that are literally the only way that you can play them are through the Xbox 360 digital marketplace. They need to make an effort to bring at least those games over to the Xbox One marketplace, so that way that they can live on and people can play them and they don't just get lost to a marketplace getting shut down.
Do you have to be on 360 to access that store?
Yes.
Is there a way to spoof it so you can do it from a PC?
I don't know.
And to that point, if you can, you just figured out how to burn a game that doesn't have a physical copy.
I mean, that's been a thing for forever, since the original PlayStation.
That's copyright infringement. Don't do it.
Dreamcast was known for that.
They basically handed it to you on a platter. It was like, here, we don't like security. People don't understand how to do that yet. Right.
So, Andy, what's the nerdiest thing you're into?
My entire life. I bowl. I'm on a game room podcast. I work in IT. I'm doing a website for my church. Like, frickin' name it.
Okay.
I consult for an RC track. The only thing I'm fucking missing is the tape around my glasses, bro. Look at me. I have a pen in my shirt. I don't have a pocket to put the pocket protector in.
If I got a couple people to put together a D&D campaign, would you play?
You want to play D&D, man? Yeah, we can do that. You can come over on Friday night. We'll order Papa John's.
Have you ever played D&D?
No.
You get the right people together, dude.
Hold up. Wait, you play D&D?
Yeah.
You beat me.
Yeah,
you were
dude.
Next level.
Did I tell you? I told you about that, didn't I? The Cyberpunk one that we were playing?
No.
Oh, my gosh, dude. So
You told me about that one time at his house.
that was when we were playing Magic.
You were playing Magic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what we would do. But anyway.
You guys were pretty intoxicated.
That definitely wouldn't have been us then.
Are we talking about the same thing?
I don't think so. We'll talk about that off camera because I don't want to blow anybody's spot up, and I also have no clue what you're talking about now. But we had a D&D campaign that was based off of Cyberpunk, like Cyberpunk 2077. So it was me and my high school friends, and we got together and we were like, let's put this together. So our friend Josh put together the story. He wrote like the actual story and put us through these scenarios. So we created our characters and rolled for all of our numbers and stuff. Character creation takes a long time. So then you get to choose like all the like the weird, intricate. The character creation is vast, and it is actually insane. The things that you can do, like you can, the languages you speak, like just so many different things. Anyway,
Are we talking about the same D&D?
so we had this campaign where we were in the town. We're in this town. We're walking through. We all know each other. We're like mercs working with each other. So we meet this guy for this mission. And this guy introduces an exterior like mercenary to follow. I immediately am just like, I don't trust him. So we advance through the mission. Well, it turns out that guy was there to kill all of us. So since I had caught on to him immediately, we had the advantage and disposed of him very easily. We had a big fight on this rooftop with these people that we were going after, and Andrew decided, hey, can we throw him off the roof? And Josh is like, yeah, sure. Roll like you would roll for an attack. And he rolled, and he got to throw him off the roof and killed him instantly. It was like we literally just threw these people off of a roof, and it like at the end of that like scenario where it was like the end of the night, we kind of closed it out. He goes, you caught on way too quickly. That's bullshit. And you throwing people off of roofs, I didn't expect that, or else I would have like written something else to like have the fight not on the roof. But like it was so much fun because it was so humorous to be like to think about like the scenario, because like when you're playing it and you're like thinking about how you're going to react to certain things in like the town or during the mission or this and that, because it's all like you have to do stuff and this and that, and everybody has their traits and their skills, and certain people have to do certain things to have a better advantage of actually doing it successfully. It's a whole thing. It was so much fun. If you have the right people doing the right campaign, it is probably the most fun playing a game that anybody can ever have. Easily. Because you're with people, you're feeding off of each other. The minute something hilarious happens, it's just everybody just laughs. And like that's the best time, is when you're with your friends and you're all laughing, having a good time doing something. Whether it's playing golf or whatever, it's the same exact thing. It's so much fun.
We're talking about the board game, right?
Well, it's not really a board game.
What is it?
It's a tabletop game, I guess I would say.
I just want to clarify that you didn't really throw anybody off of a roof.
No.
Also, have you ever considered writing a super bad scenario for that game?
So that would probably take all of the fun out of it. If you have a person that, like, because Josh is quirky. His personality is quirky. Like, when he put us, because he's not, like, playing. He's telling the story, creating the characters in the story to allow everybody else to enjoy playing the game. And he was the right one to do it. If you, like, if I or somebody that doesn't really have much experience with it tried to do that, it would be terrible. It would be absolutely terrible. They have books that have like all this lore, and they tell like scenarios that you can like follow so that you can play it to, you know, certain things. But when it gets really fun when like you take that as a baseline and then you expand upon it.
You win.
I also play a MMORPG where I literally click things.
You win. Well, click things.
You just click
Click what?
trees to cut them down.
RuneScape.
Yeah. I've watched the.
I'm just gonna take you guys out to play paintball.
See, that doesn't sound fun to me.
Why not?
I don't know. It just doesn't. I've known people that have played paintball, and I've just every time someone's like, "Do you want to play paintball?" I'm just like, "Nah."
All right, then I'll just bring my marker over.
Okay.
Small target, but
It'll do.
Ping, ping.
Good target practice.
No, D&D sounds like it could be fun. I don't know if I'd have the patience for that.
If you had the right, like that's the thing is like if you have the right person doing it, they grab you in, and then you're just in it.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
That's.
Oh, you
That's
don't
when
mean
it's
literally grab you.
Well, if they want to, it'd be like, "Ugh." Who all in here likes Little Big? Why does it not have her as a viewer? That's weird.
Why does it say Sackboy?
That's the name of Sackboy from Littlebigplanet, the character.
They named something Sackboy?
Have you never played Littlebigplanet?
No.
What? You have a PS4.
Yeah.
Go buy this game. It's on PS4. I have the PS5 version.
Let me see it. This will trade.
You can play it with Adelaide.
This will trade nicely.
It's not worth much.
Oh, and the game's in there. I don't even have to play it.
Yeah, you can play with Adelaide, dude.
Sackboy.
It's a blast. It's just like it started as like a side-scrolling game.
Sackboy.
Hey, that's what he is. It's like a hacky sack.
America. Do better.
Oh my god. So
we're setting ourselves up for this shit.
How have you never played Littlebigplanet? You're PlayStation all the way.
I am PlayStation all the way. I've never played Littlebigplanet.
You need to get Sackboy for the PS4. Sit down with Adelaide and just you can literally pick her up and throw her in the map.
Hold up. Sackboy isn't a boy?
Well, I guess it's not technically. It can be, but it can also not be. You can dress him up like Nathan Drake or Kratos.
Oh God!
It's so fun. I literally was sitting down here playing it with our friend's son when they came over, and we had Lydia down, and she was watching us play, and dude, it was a blast. I had fun. And playing games with kids is not easy.
My favorite game to play with my daughter is Overcooked.
I've never played that. I've seen it, but I've never played it.
And you're talking...
You really want to get frustrated?
I would get frustrated with you playing Overcooked. Because you would start throwing the onions over the wrong way, and I'd start bitching about it, and I'd be like, I need them over here!
Dude, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I downloaded the Bluey game for Lydia, because she loves Bluey. And I was like, cool, this will be a fun game for us to play together. Like, it's a simple game. Absolutely not. Because the camera will follow one character and just leave the other character off screen. Well, guess what character it followed every single time?
Hers.
Her character.
Oh, poor you.
And I would have to try and navigate back to her through nothingness.
Get better. Do
is,
better.
It's frustrating.
Do better.
It was
America. Do better.
But seriously, Sackboy. You're literally just a little sack character. You know all about little sacks. And you navigate these levels. There's little bubble collectibles that you get that you can get. It gives you stickers and stuff and costume pieces for your character. And you just go through the level. There's little boss fights, there's little interactions in the map. It's a great time.
Speaking of sacks, you know who knows quite a lot about sacks?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
The best clip that I saw is probably considered the worst clip from what I've been seeing going around online right now. But it was when Kim Kardashian was talking about how her family's defended a lot of ex-football players.
Dude, it got better because at the end, Tom was up there doing his rebuttal, and he's like, Kim was really worried about coming here, not because of this, but because her kids are at home with their father.
Tony Hinchcliffe had a really good one because I guess people were slamming Bert and Tom, and Tony Hinchcliffe said that I forget what he said, but he like had this play on words that it was just like trickling down like the same.
Oh, you mean around the king comment?
Yeah, yeah. He was like, Bert Kreischer is a king that just ate at Burger King.
If the Liver King ate at Burger King while looking like Martin Luther King, getting beat to shit by Rodney King.
Yes, yes. Yeah, he
That
had
was
that
good.
that joke that was really funny. Tony Hinchcliffe is great.
Tom actually pointed out that he doesn't understand why the Buffalo Bills fans call themselves the Bills Mafia, because when you're in a mafia, you're familiar with rings.
Oh, yeah. I saw that, too. I want to watch the whole thing. I do want to watch the whole thing. I've just seen clips of it, because I love Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, and a lot of the comedians that were there. I like the one clip I saw was not funny. It was Nikki Glazer.
Which one?
The
one about Gronk?
Yeah.
Where it's like, Tom, you lost $30 million in crypto.
Oh, yeah.
What were you thinking? Even Gronk was there saying, "Me know that not real money."
Yeah.
Yeah. Without the context, I think that one doesn't land as well. But
Yeah. Normally she's pretty funny, but
watch the rest of her part, because she shreds it. She's like, "Oh yeah, Tom, you have 7 rings, 8 now that Giselle gave hers back."
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'll have to watch the whole thing.
And then they had one of the expatriates talking to Belichick, and he's like, "You always used to yell at us that the kids down at Foxborough High could run that fucking play. Foxborough High is the only fucking job you can get." Dude, the roast of Tom Brady will go down as one of the best roasts ever did. He was such an easy target.
I forget what the roast.
God, he's what?
What was the roast that was? I can't remember.
I don't know, but he's a beautiful man.
He is a beautiful man. But when you look at him, you're just like, are you there? Didn't he have a Will Smith moment with somebody?
Yeah, the one guy, the first guy that was there, brought up the owner of the Patriots and the whole massage thing from, I think it was Miami a few years back, and he was like, "Don't say that shit again." And it's like, what? He's smiling.
Yeah, I saw.
I didn't know anything was off limits.
Yeah. Like, Tom Brady seems like that kind of guy where if, like, because every clip I saw, he was just sitting there, and then when somebody would say something that was funny, he would just do this. He'd be like,
well, yeah, he was sitting there thinking to himself, why the hell did I put myself through this shit?
what was I
like, it was literally like if you were playing golf. Tom Brady at a roast is basically the equivalent of putting a 5-gallon bucket in the green and putting into that.
That would be a dream. My putting game would be strong, baby.
To that point, do you remember Blue Crush? The surfer chick movie from way back in the day?
Yeah.
With, I think it was Kate Bosworth. And I think Michelle Rodriguez was in it.
I'm remembering it less now. Maybe. Oh no, I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the Keanu Reeves movie.
To the blonde chick that surfs.
Point Break. That was what I was thinking of.
Yeah, not that one. So it's like 3 chicks. The blonde chick surfs, and she works at a resort, and this football team from the NFL is there visiting while she's working there, and the quarterback is not Tom Brady, but the actor is like dead on. It's like, holy crap, why does he look like Tom Brady? And why is she into him? And why is he into her? And what the hell is going on here? Like, it's just Blue Crush is a great movie.
Can we collectively agree that the 90s and early 2000s were the best times for music and movies?
No,
Really?
we're biased. You ask the same question to somebody who's 50 and they're going to tell you it was the 80s.
Well, there are some 80s movies that are fantastic, and there are some 80s music that is also fantastic.
Bueller?
But it's also goes back to, like, when you look at, like, the year beginning with 1990 and just moving to 1991, how many movies came out in that span? How many movies / TV shows came out in that 1 year span? Where if you look at 2023 and 2024 and you look at the amount of movies and shows that came out in that time period, in that span of time, which is the exact same, it would probably be like 15x the amount. And there are turds.
So the problem is that back then it was a special thing, right?
Yes.
Now, again, there's too much of everything.
Yes.
Nothing is special.
No.
Nothing is sacred.
No.
I mean, I was in a school the other day and heard some kid in school crack a joke about his nutsack.
What grade?
5th.
I feel like I was cracking jokes about my nutsack in 5th grade.
I wasn't.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I was hitting people in the nutsack in 5th grade. That
Were
was
you?
like the thing to do.
Because we didn't start doing that shit until like 7th grade.
I'm trying to think.
Like 5th grade, I knew what a nutsack was because I had one.
No, maybe not. Maybe 5th grade. It was a little bit early. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like I actually
no, that was 6th grade. 6th grade, I got ISS
so I was
for drawing inappropriate cartoons.
Oh God, were you that guy?
I guess I was that guy.
Just couldn't stop drawing penises.
No, I wasn't Jonah Hill and
Oh,
Superbad.
okay.
You know how many foods are shaped like dicks? The best kinds.
So, like, you know,
I just heard Alicia laugh.
I'm on this. I also was, involved in a field trip. Fucking McLovin. It's a made up fucking fairy tale name, you fuck. Damn it. I'm on this field trip.
Such a good movie.
You need to cut that part out.
I probably will.
But please do, because if I do any of that, then that needs to disappear. But so I'm on the field trip, and we're at lunch, and this boy proceeds to tell this girl, after the girl has asked a question to another boy, yeah, it's his hair, unlike your crusty rat trap. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, at which point do we decide that this is okay?
I mean, it's bad, especially now, because meme culture has taken over the world, and it sneaks its way into kids' content all the time. There are some times where I'm sitting on the couch, and like I'll listen to like what I'm watching, I'll pay attention, but I also listen to like if Lydia's on her iPad, and I'll hear what's going on, and if I hear like even like the smallest like thing where I'm just like, what? I'll just grab the iPad and be like, nope, and just put her back on track, because you can go off track and you have to kind of reel them back in and not let them get too far. But also,
just cut it.
There's,
do it now.
There's some.
Don't make her dependent upon that content addiction.
Well, she's definitely not addicted to the content. She's not.
Cut it for a day and see how addicted she really is.
There are days where she doesn't watch her iPad at all.
Okay, make it a week.
he'd have to have some pretty big plans for that week.
Why?
Well, I mean, if you have a kid,
She got toys?
yeah, but you're not going to play with them for the entire week.
Bro, you grew up and didn't have an iPad.
It wasn't.
She would be fine.
It wasn't even an option.
You want us alive?
It wasn't an option.
I lived this. I took it away. I know it sucks at first.
It's the equivalent of us sitting watching Saturday morning cartoons or sitting down and watching, any sort of cartoons. I learned how to go to the bathroom by watching Sesame Street.
Is it? Sesame Street had producers that were paid to make that show. The shit that's on that iPad are people that are in basements like you and me.
Yeah, but they get they get you have to meet a certain standard. You can't just put the worst things on the internet onto YouTube. It gets screened.
I'm happy you trust them.
I wouldn't say I trust them, but I trust them enough. It's definitely more filtered than letting your kid go on Kick. Have you seen that debauchery? Look into that once.
Who in their right mind would make that choice?
There are a lot of parents that are out there that are just like, I don't care here's an iPad. Go do whatever you want to do on the iPad.
You are absolutely correct. And that, my friend, is the problem.
I agree.
But it doesn't stop there. It's all of it. Like, until... Put yourself in this... so we have two pedestals. One is your daughter growing up today.
Mm-hmm.
The other is you growing up when you grew up without the car accident.
Okay.
She has access to literally millions of people's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say it's filtered, vetted. Unless you personally can look at every one of them, it's unrestricted, because what comes up next isn't your choice. And you can't be a helicopter dad.
No.
None of us can.
No. Nor would any... there are people that are those helicopter parents, and I think that's when you divert your kids to the bad things.
Well, right, you push them away, exactly.
But if you let them explore, you let them you can't hold them out of seeing technology. You can't, if she didn't have an iPad, one of us would have an iPad, or someone at a friend's house would have an iPad.
It's not so much the iPad that's the problem.
It's the content on the iPad.
It's YouTube, really.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But so let me finish that articulation quick before you run through it. When you were kids, or I was a kid, or any of us were kids, our exposure was not that broad. We were inherently sheltered by only having a landline phone and being able to write letters. We interacted with the kids at school, and that was the scope of the ideas that we were exposed to, the concepts, the morals. Everything that you watch has underlying tones where it's like, oh, this little boy gave that back to that little boy when he was upset.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. Or, oh, look, these two dolls are arguing over who wants the hairbrush. It must be okay to slap your sister when she doesn't give you what you want. The ideas are unvetted. The concepts within are there's just too many.
So I can agree with you to an extent, with seeing certain things and thinking it's okay. And then, but you would run into something like that even without them being on it, for example, the hairbrush thing. There's probably a YouTube channel out there that's parents and kids playing with toys. It's two dolls. Pick up a hairbrush and they do like a smacking gesture, and they see that and they're like, oh. And then in a situation where two kids, that one's trying to get a hairbrush and the other wants it too, then the one that has seen that video is going to smack the other one. That would happen regardless if they saw it on an iPad or not.
Why?
Because it's natural to have anger. When you have anger, you do outlandish things sometimes. Whether it's hitting somebody, whether it's pushing them or shoving them, you're going to have some sort of confrontation of sorts. Whether it's to the extent of smacking somebody or not is, whatever the reaction is.
I would agree that there are certain instances where you would have that, and she just made the exact point that I'm getting at. You could have that because anger is a natural emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you could guarantee that the child would instantly snap to that as a solution.
Well, I wouldn't guarantee that would be the
outcome.
But there is definitely a chance that would happen.
To that point, at least at that point, you can really kind of combat it instead of having to worry about, okay, I'm going to correct this, but is it already a problem?
Well, it's the same thing. So, regardless of how it gets influenced, whether it's from seeing it at school or seeing it on an iPad or just having it as a natural occurrence where that's their reaction to that situation, it's your job as a parent to correct it no matter where it came from.
I can tell you firsthand, it is way easier to correct something that is a reaction, like a natural reaction and a first time type thing, than something that has been reintroduced repeatedly time and time again until I address it.
So
because the concept of once and done, like what I say this once, you do it.
So now
gone.
We're getting into a whole different territory. That's beyond a reaction of slapping somebody because of a hairbrush. What you're talking about here is things that become a habit.
Right. Well, and that's the pattern of behavior.
Become a habit that is not a problem until it becomes a problem.
Right. So if you're exposing the child to repeated instances of, this desensitivity to, we'll say, correctly handling anger, through seeing these videos. Like, let's say it's a channel about dolls playing together, and the doll's always getting fights, and one doll is always bossy and bullied, and she always gets what she wants in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that, there are multiple videos, so it gets watched week after week after week, and slowly that gets ingrained. It's going to be a harder problem to just tackle that.
So I don't think that something like that is hard to break, because you have to think of how many times that comes up. If a kid wants something and you tell them no, if you're at the store and they're like, I want a doll, and you're just like, no. And they go, but I want it. And you're just like, no. Like, you haven't earned that, or, I'm choosing not to buy this for you. Because every parent will go to the store and get their kid a toy. That's part of having a kid. You're like, hey, pick out a toy. And every parent does it. You have not done that. Why?
She can play with dirt. Of course, I've freaking done that. That's why my house is full of toys. But, yeah, but no, you make a good point.
You draw the line, and you stick to your guns, and you say no. And you usually, when we have to discipline or explain, we'll give a reason. We'll have a reason why. And it's like, look, we can't just come and buy all the toys. That's just not a thing, basically. So
that's a horrible reason.
It's not the exact reason we give it. We come up with something better at the time, but so you tell them no, and then you stick to that, and you leave the store, you leave the store, and they realize that they can't get something. Now, the time where it becomes a problem is if they go to a grandparent's house or somebody else's house that watches them, and
Who
they
gives in?
give them everything they want.
Right.
So it's one place they have everything, one place they don't have everything, and you get that clash every now and then. That's when it becomes a problem and it's hard to break. So
and to that point, I'm going to take this and take what you just said and articulate it with what was said in the comments, as it was shared that influenced by kids at school that have YouTube, regardless of what you decide or I decide in our own damn homes, the rules we set down. In your case, you allow her exposure to it in a very safe manner.
yeah.
I have chosen to go a different way with, just all out, nope, not going that route. It doesn't matter.
It does.
Because she's going to go to a friend's house,
They're
her
gonna-
friend's on shorts, she's going to go look at it.
Mm-hmm.
She gets, the experience is there, comes home, Dad, I'm scared. What are you afraid of? I saw this on YouTube Shorts because so-and-so showed this to me and it was a scary monster.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you watching YouTube Shorts? Because my friend was showing it to me.
Yeah.
I, then have the conversation about, well, your friend shouldn't be doing that if you tell your friend that you can't do that and this, that, and the other. The school itself uses YouTube.
Really?
Yes.
For what?
Educational purposes, for videos, for lessons, to articulate ideas.
So, like, I'm on the point where, we used to put on like those really like the educational like videos, like learn how to count, learn how to like your letters, your numbers, and stuff like that. And at a very early age, Lydia knew her stuff from the jump. Like, she was sharp as a tack. She was very smart for her age. She knew her numbers. She knew her letters. She could count further than anything, way before she could count at that point.
How did the apple fall that far from the tree?
I agree.
I'm
100%.
kidding. I was kidding.
So,
it was her mom.
So
That's where it was.
I will credit, that there's some content where if they watched it like at an early age or whatever, like it can be beneficial, for sure. YouTube is beneficial to me in everyday life. If I need to know how to do something.
But you don't, like, for you, yes, but for her, and it was beneficial in her case, but you don't need it. It's not necessary. Little Einsteins.
I don't
like,
think
there are so many different
I don't think
things.
it should be shown in schools. That's kind of weird.
If it's not, well, then why give it to her here?
Because it's a more controlled environment.
So there was a time when the end user license agreement said, hey, if you're not 13, you can't frickin' use this.
Yeah.
We had it right.
So
there was a time when we had it right.
So I'll go a step further, and I'll also point out, like you were saying, they go to a friend's house or whatever, and like their parents parent a different way, and they are maybe a lot more lenient on things, etc. Think back to when the internet was in its infancy, when we were, what I would say, like 12 or 13.
No.
Maybe.
Pause that real quick. Wait until you get to 13 attitude. Go ahead.
When I think it was probably around when we were like 12 or 13.
To 12, 13 puts us at like the turn of the century. The internet was more advented around like 97, but it was common in 99. So yeah, I mean like 9, 10, 12, 13, 15.
So think
2,
about
69, Hut.
Think about
Omaha.
all the things that we saw on the internet
You got it.
at that point.
So yeah,
The things that I saw on the internet, I would have to really look for today.
I saw some messed up stuff on the internet. I would not have to really look for that today. It's better than it was.
I think you have to jump through a couple of hoops to find that kind of stuff on the
How many? So Rotten.com.
We're talking way worse than Meatspin.
Rotten.com was bad.
Yeah.
But Rotten.com was also not several frickin' million videos. It was like, what, 20?
I mean, it was more than that.
Well, collectively, yes, but at a time, they only posted so many, so you could only consume so much of this content.
All you need is one.
You're right. One is enough to scar you.
But the thing is,
But
with YouTube and stuff, like, their rules and their stuff to post content is getting more and more screened and strict as time goes on. And with the algorithms and the way things get recommended, it's hard to get those random pop-ups of just like, oops, I stumbled upon this.
So what happens?
The thing that gets messed up in my daughter's, like, when she's watching things and she's like pushing stuff because it's not what she wants to see or whatever, like, she likes to watch people play with toys. It's very harmless. I've witnessed her watch countless ones. Is it weird to me in like the way like I'm just listening to like people like as a
Pretend
content
to be,
creation
no,
perspective? I'm just like, this is weird.
Let's watch an adult portray a child's toy.
It's weird, but it's relatively harmless in terms of like the content that they're talking about. It's very harmless.
Is it though?
For a majority of what I've seen in my, being a parent, having my daughter on YouTube. However, she does get in, like, the algorithm will, like, spin, and then she'll get on, like, she'll click a video, and it's, like, a foreign, like, not English-speaking thing, and it's, like, really weird. It's probably okay in, like, that culture, but for me, I'm just like, okay, no, like, this is too much, and I have to exit out, and I'll go back to, whatever she's A for Adelie or whatever she's watching, which there are content creators like that are very, very innocent and very harmless, and, like, it's the same kind of thing as children's TV. Like, there's an overarching lesson to be learned, and things happen, and everything is fine.
TV works because it's vetted. We had video games, and they worked because they were vetted. I don't think our children were ever intended to be so available.
What do you mean by available?
You think of a child's mind and you think of essentially a sponge. You learn better when you're young than you do when you're old. And I think that to understand how impressionable your audience is if you're putting together these YouTube videos can potentially give you a lot of power under guys.
So I will say that when she can read, write, and, like, basically, if she wanted to, she could respond in, like, a chat, or she could go and make a comment on something. I think that's when I really start to monitor and draw back that content consumption.
What about search?
Like a Google search?
Like a YouTube search?
That's what I'm saying. It's
What's
like,
stopping her tomorrow from hearing the word penis at school and coming home and typing it in and looking it up?
One, she can't do that because she doesn't know, like, how to form words yet. Like, she doesn't know how to, like, write down words. Like, she couldn't just hear it.
Okay, so maybe
come
not
home
tomorrow.
And articulate it enough to put it in a search.
But a year from now, that's a very, very real possibility.
And
I can tell you because I went through it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when she can articulate that kind of thing, where she could go into a live and talk to people, or go into and search stuff, and she can go on Google and search stuff, that's when I draw that back. That's when I start to be like, okay, now we're putting the brakes on here.
So how do you put the brakes on?
because I have the power to do that. I'm a parent. I can.
No, I mean, like, what do you do to put the brakes on with YouTube?
With-
Short of
with-
just
well,
saying no.
With YouTube, it's, you can't. I haven't looked into how exactly I'm going to do that, where it's like, monitoring stuff or having like a linked account or whatever. She does watch everything on my account now. Like, so I can go into my history and I can see everything that she's watched for the past however long the history exists.
That's great, but you can't unring a bell.
No, that's what I'm saying is, like, I have to find a way that I'm going to monitor that, or I'm going to prevent that from happening. Which here's the thing. I don't want to fall into that. I don't want to be like, I need to prevent that from happening, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy. You can't prevent anything. It's going to happen one way or the other. But I want to be able to control it and have her not just go hog wild. And I don't want her to have the plethora of the internet, search at whatever on Google, YouTube, whatever, to be able to just type in whatever she wants and watch whatever I don't want that. That, I think, is absolutely ridiculous. But
Adelaide actually has Google.
But you can't stop it. We live in 2024 where you have more access to anything than anybody ever has.
We can stop it. We can choose to educate our children about technology in the right way, without making them dependent upon it, and without, making them gluttons of consumption where it's just, perpetual, continuous, I have to be engaged at every moment. Well, otherwise, I feel like I'm not doing something right. I think we need what?
That's me.
Well, that's you. Maybe you should go and talk to somebody too.
It's not that I need to be engaged in something at all times. It's I need to be doing something at all times. Whether it's like I cannot come home after we just were somewhere and we sit down in the living room. I can't sit there in silence.
And I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I always have to have something going on. Whether it's something I'm listening to, something I'm watching, something I need something going on.
It's one thing to need to be active, or just using your mind or occupying your mind.
Occupied. I need to be occupied.
It's totally different
stimulation. Yes.
Than to be in a situation where you need to be consuming something at all times.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
No, because with my daughter we're really having a challenge with this. If it's not TV and it's not the phone, it becomes like this, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it's like, take a minute. Play with your dolls. Do something that occupies your mind that doesn't involve external content. Use your creativity.
You're getting to a challenging age as well, where
you ain't got to tell me that.
Where, like, it's what we were talking about earlier, where we want, like, you're basically becoming your own independent person, and you want to be independent, and you want to be doing, all of the stuff on your own, and
you have no idea.
Trust me, I do. I do, because believe it or not, one time I was around that age, and I know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be a parent to somebody, but I know full well that it's not easy to navigate that.
No, and it's not even that it's not easy for that. I'm just sitting here.
Especially in this day and age.
I'm sitting here and I'm noticing patterns amongst a lot of children. I'm noticing a lot of things that people consider issues, and they all have one common denominator. And I think that until parents start to say, hey, you're a parent, I'm a parent, she's a parent, he's a parent, let's talk about this and decide what we're going to do collectively so that a society can really adapt and overcome what we've created, nothing's going to get better.
Do you want to know the problem with that?
What? That nobody agrees on shit?
Well, but now you're asking people to be
Accountable?
Holy
shit!
You're telling people that they have to actually parent their kid?
Everybody parents their kid.
No.
Oh, no, dude.
I have a hard argue on that one.
Not by your definition of parenting. Not by my definition of parenting, but by what they understand parenting to be. They're probably the best parent in the world, because we don't know if that person's the kid who in 3rd grade was getting beat by their father when they grew up.
Okay, you prove a point there. Yeah, you do prove a pretty big point there. Which, did you watch that video that I sent you?
Which one? You sent me like 5,000.
The Kia Boys. Did you watch that?
Yes.
That's kids doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane. To be like under 16, under 18, going out stealing people's cars and selling them to people in your neighborhood as crime vehicles for $50 to $100, and then doing it multiple times, getting in cop chases. Like, those are kids doing that.
At what age did you truly understand sarcasm?
I don't know.
At what age did you understand the concept of irony or idiom?
I don't know.
At what age did you begin to understand the premise of what's right and wrong? In the sense of an adult.
Yeah.
We're exposing these kids. For me, there are things that I didn't understand about being right and wrong until very late in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I truly understood sarcasm until I was a teenager.
I would say probably sarcasm comes pretty late.
So we're exposing these kids to reels that are inherently posted on the basis of sarcasm and irony.
Well, that's the problem with like the meme culture. Is the meme culture is trying to push that line. It's trying to like push the what we can and can't say in a joking manner, to where you really have to understand either the context of the joke or you don't, and it's a whole other meaning. Which, if a kid's watching that, yeah, that's really bad, because
they think it's okay.
They don't understand it because it's meant for an adult, it's not meant for a kid.
So they think it's okay, and they see that people are liking that, and they think it's funny. Because it's funny.
Yeah.
But to them, that's something that they're going to want to reenact so they themselves can then be considered funny, and not somebody that's going to say, oh, hey, I probably shouldn't do that because that's not what we do. That was just somebody trying to make funny.
So that's where things get hairy with the streamer culture and the content creator culture. Is like, you have these people that are so over the top, doing all of these crazy things, like going out in public and pranking people and becoming this big famous YouTuber or Twitch streamer, and that kid watches all of their videos. They love it. They love the prank videos. They love them, doing these outlandish things that have probably partially been scripted, and then that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do with their lives. They want to be Twitch streamers. They want to be YouTube streamers or content creators or whatever. Like, it's insane the amount of kids that, if you ask them what they want to be, they're like, I want to be a Twitch streamer. I want to be a YouTube content creator.
I'm glad we're setting so many children up for reality.
It's a harsh reality. It's you can't just go on, set up your webcam and turn yourself playing Minecraft and become the next Asmongold, or become the next Moist Critical, or become, the next whoever, name Mr. Beast. Like, you're not going to be the next that person without...
Oh, Mr. Beast is a rarity?
Believe it or not, yeah. Like,
somebody who takes, a childhood icon and thinks it's funny to get them to finally say the F word?
Okay, you lost me now.
There's a reel out there that Mr. Beast did where he takes Carly from iCarly, and it's like, say it, say it, say it. And she's like, what? And finally she just says, fuck. And it's like the biggest thing ever because Carly from iCarly said the F word. Oh my God. Kids still watch that show.
Did you see the Nickelodeon documentary? It's horrible. That's a ton of stuff where it's like, okay, glad that didn't make it into the shows. Obviously somebody was doing something right, but at the same time doing something very, very wrong. Yeah.
I think we need to just cancel content for kids. Crowdsourcing content for kids is not safe. Because people don't... If it ain't your kid... If you see a child on a playground get hit, and it's not your child, are you going to go over there and address it?
Or who are they getting hit by?
Another child. If they just get hit.
Am I just a bypass? Like, am I just walking like on a trail?
Nope, your daughter's playing on the playground too.
I might.
Not with them.
I might at this point as a parent. I think I might have the I'm a socially awkward guy.
So you're going to butt in, like you're going to go to this kid that you don't know and tell him it's not okay.
I don't think I'll do that, but I think I might be like, whoa, what, like, kind of intervene and be like, what's going on here?
Why does the guy in the basement 100 miles away making that video for YouTube that your kid's about to watch care about her well-being?
I mean, they don't. But if you're a content creator making content for children, I think, in my brain at least, as I want to create content for X, Y, and Z, my brain's a bit scattered all the time with, like, look how we were talking about gaming and nerd stuff, and then we were talking about the roast of Tom Brady and baseball fields, and now we're talking about being a parent and content creation for children. So, if I'm a person in a basement, 100 miles away, and I'm making content for children, there are people, especially people that go to the extent of, building these crazy sets or these really intricate sets for their toys or what have you, and go to the extent of making it like a well filmed production. I'm thinking it from a term of like, okay, if I'm making this content, I'm becoming a huge creator. I want to make it so that if at any point during this content, I don't want the parent of this child to think that this is any malintent or any sort of underlying things. Because the minute you become something like that, which I'll save that for after, but once you get that reputation, it tarnishes it.
Yeah, you can't shake that.
However, from what I've heard about content created for children, is you get pushed through the algorithm very hard. Like, it's a whole different ball game in that regard. And I think it kind of, I don't know if it's a harsher screening for what your stuff is involved for and stuff, but you also have to think how many people consume YouTube content, especially when it comes to children's content. You throw it up on the TV so they can have it on while they're in the living room playing or what have you. If you're a parent just sitting on the couch, even if you're reading a book, playing on, doing work on your laptop, playing a Game Boy, whatever you're doing, you have an ear that's listening to what's going on in that show. The minute something small catches your ear and perks you up and you have to see what's going on, you can easily just go click the report button.
How many parents do you think aren't involved in something of their own at that time and are actually paying attention to that, though?
See
that's the thing. Like, you can't.
If Lydia's watching something on TV, it's not very common, but if we have the TV on and it's, A for Adelie on the YouTube, very, very little times does she actually watch YouTube on the TV. It's usually just on her iPad, and it's on the couch where we are, where I can hear it. I'm a very big multitasker when I'm in the living room. If I'm in the living room and we're watching a movie, if it's not something that I really want to see, or it's something that really catches me, chances are I'm probably playing Magic on my phone, I'm playing RuneScape on a laptop, or I'm playing my Switch to some capacity.
Okay.
But I'm also listening and watching periodically on the TV for the movie or the show. But I can also listen to what she is watching too, and if anything makes me perk up, I'm gonna perk up. Now, I guarantee there are not other parents that can do that, because my mom was that way. She would be in the living room. She would be watching. She'd be in the living room, I should say, or the kitchen, like the dining room.
She was in the kitchen, honey.
She'd be in the dining room, and she'd have.
Oh, she was in the dining room?
She had a TV. She'd be doing scrapbooking stuff, watching TV, doing something on her phone, and doing something on the computer. Like, she'd be doing like 1,000 things at once, and that's who I get it from. I have to be doing like 10 things at once. It's very rare that I can sit down and like watch a movie and be dialed in. That I can do it, and it's for certain movies I can do it. Like, if I'm going to the movies, I'm going to the movies to watch a movie.
So
I'm not that big of an asshole.
What is the actual benefit to her having access to all of that content at the age that she does? Other than, and we'll recognize two big ones up front, it occupies her, which makes, child rearing a lot easier.
It makes life a bit easier.
And
we'll just take the easy route. Sure. Sometimes you just take the easy route. Sometimes you just hand them the iPad. You're just like, hey, I need a minute.
And then,
Everybody's
of course,
guilty of it.
Some educational degree. Some of the stuff they watch, I'm sure, is educational.
100%.
Outside of those two, what is it?
I will say this, too, is when she does this thing, which it's so me that it hurts. She will be down playing with her dolls and she will like kind of mimic the like way that the person on the video is playing with the dolls. Not to the same extent, but she'll like kind of put the same scenario into place.
So there's impression there.
Yes and no. It's not I hear on video, I hear her do.
No, it's never going to be like mimic, I don't think.
It's like kind of telling her like how to properly play with dolls, basically. Like as a 4-year-old, like it's you kind of create your own way, but when you have somebody that's like doing it, like you can just kind of follow.
So is that more damaging?
I don't. Could it be?
Because
sure.
of the limitations on imagination? I mean,
could it be? Sure, but I'll tell you that she's got no shortage of imagination.
No, I know that. I've met her, so
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's an impression. I understand it's not like an exact replication,
I recognize that yes, it is an impression, but I think there are innocent impressions, and I think that there are damaging impressions. There's harmful impressions, and there's like impressions that are just like.
Well, and that's my
whatever.
That's my achieving point here is that regardless of the video, we've established and we know that it's going to create an impression, regardless of what they watch, and that we can't. Damn. We can't police what they watch entirely.
No,
And
you can't police what they do, what they learn, what they get impressions from. You can't do that to the full extent.
And when we were their age, you were more able to.
Sure, because you didn't have as much information coming from all different directions.
Which is why I think parents should just say, wait. But
yeah, yes and no. Like, I understand the damage that allowing them to do these things on, have access to these things, I should say, is. But I also see the benefit, and you're not, like, you can't escape it. You can't.
I don't think there's, but that's the biggest thing for me, is that I don't see a situation where the benefit can't be attained otherwise.
Okay.
Without being damning. Like, it's like, yeah, we have these benefits, but there's so many damning factors to it. If we just do this, you still get the benefits, and we've mitigated any risks. And maybe it's just me, but I'm terrified to see what the world is like in 15, 20 years.
I think everybody is.
And that's why
Because
we need to do something now.
The thing is, like, I like how some things are. Like, with technology, with content, with all of these things. Like, I like it to a degree. And I see how, if it goes further, it's just a nightmare.
Yep.
I don't like how it goes on those parts. So,
What happens when a 7-year-old figures out how to use a deepfake?
I mean,
Short of his mom having a full frontal that he shows to his class.
yeah, like, that's when things start to get very, very bad.
We're there.
Probably.
Oh no, we're there.
But
Like,
you're not, like, you can avoid that. I mean, a 7-year-old learning how to make a deep fake. Yeah, that's...
it's an app. That's exactly how
but you can-
you remember the text.
You can control apps.
You remember the text.
Was this a text between us?
No, the text that my daughter got.
No.
I'll remind you about that later, but that text was generated by an AI app. Kid had no clue what it meant. Sent it to my daughter. I about flew out of my chair.
Maybe I do. I just don't remember. But anyway, we'll get.
So to that point, they don't understand it, man. Don't give them access to it. Like,
yes, but
but they get it from all of this. Like, this does not need to be in the hands of anybody under the age of 13 unless they have a need to reach somebody by phone.
So I think when it comes, that's a really tough thing, because at that age where your kid's going to people's like multiple people's houses and stuff like that, like, I don't trust the other parents as far as I can throw them to either, one, tell me what's up, two, make sure they're not getting into the worst possible things, and three, just I don't know those people. So it's like, I'm not going to just shelter my kid and not let her go to friends' houses.
You probably should at that point.
I mean, depending on the vibe, I'm meeting the parents first, 100%. I'm meeting the parents first, no questions. That's how it goes. But when it comes to that thing right there in your hand, you can control those to an extent.
Oh, I know, and I do.
Exactly.
I'm
So-
still not happy with it.
I mean, no, but
Like, outside of a phone and a text message
Yeah.
to get to me, Or maybe her friends.
So there are like specific phones that are made for children, correct?
The Bark phone.
I don't know. That is a weird name for that, but
Well, they call it Bark because it scans their texts and monitors and alerts you.
We talked about that.
Right.
Yeah.
The Bark phone. So the Bark phone, I think, is a great idea. It's on an Android platform, so it's dog shit, which kind of goes along with the name Bark. But the Bark piece of it is good. It's just the phone they send out is not great, and they charge, I think, $50 or $60 a month for it.
That's insane.
So I'm paying that on Xfinity Mobile anyway for her phone.
True. But you have like all these parental settings and stuff like that where you can like really, really like dial back what she can access.
That's what I thought.
Go on.
I get alerts or I used to get alerts when, text messages would be a problem or indicate something, was up with regards to certain categories. Mm-hmm. I could restrict who she contacted and to a degree when she contacted them. Mm-hmm. The location service in it was spotty at best.
Like show it like sharing location.
It has just inherent GPS location within it because it's got a parents app that goes on their phone, and then the actual phone itself is, like the child's slave app. I didn't mean that way. But I don't think I could say the child's child app. Anyway, they have a lot of work to do with that.
Yeah.
With iPhone... With screen time, you can restrict things a lot more effectively.
I know with like an Apple product, you can control it a little bit better and more user-friendly, correct? It makes it a little bit easier.
Kind of. Like I can restrict who she's able to communicate with. So like if there's a number that comes or a text that comes in from a number that's not in her contacts, it won't allow her to see it. Mm-hmm. She can only call certain people after 10, like you have uptime, downtime, that kind of thing. Time limits on apps.
Is there a thing where like once you reach a certain time, like they can be locked out of their phone and they can't like access it until like the next morning where like it's a hard shut off at 10.
So
she can't unlock it or can't like access anything of substance that would even be needed. And then at 10 o'clock the next morning, it allows you to then unlock it and access whatever things you can access.
I don't actually recommend doing that because if you send your child to, say, a friend's house for a sleepover and something happens in the middle of the night and they get scared and
okay, yeah,
they need access to that because they're going to come to you and they're probably going to text you or call you or FaceTime you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you can lock it down to where they can only do that at night and everything else is off.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem I ran into was, I lock everything down. And it's like, okay, only phone, camera, and what was the third one? Text messages. Mm-hmm. And only to me or your mom. Because you have to have camera available for FaceTime.
Makes sense.
Well, my daughter decided to, lay in bed until 11 o'clock making goofy videos. Because she had nothing better to do on her phone. All right. Cool.
So,
We're going to circumvent that.
But do you think that's harmful?
Yes.
Why?
Because she's laying in bed up until 11 on blue light, which we already understand to be not great at night as far as sleep patterns go. The whole concept of, a bedtime at 9 is that you're asleep by 10. So if you're up until 11, probably not going to sleep until midnight, and then you're getting up at 6:30. That don't work.
So if it's in your house where it's like, I'm drawing the hard bedtime at 10, why not take the phone?
That's what I do now.
Well, yeah. So at that point, you found out that it was happening, and then you decided to correct it.
Right, with that particular issue.
Exactly. That's part of being so anything that happens, if they're at their friend's house and they were looking at things on the computer that they shouldn't have been looking at, or they were doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, whenever they're here at your house, at some point, I would say not all the time, because there are definitely instances where it doesn't happen. But a majority of the time, I would say that it comes up some way or another where you find out about it.
Oh, without a doubt.
And then you have to go into parent mode and be like, look, and have to explain, that's not something that we do. That's not something that's okay. And you can then control it further if you have to, where it's like, look, I don't think we need to be going over to that person's house anymore.
Well, yeah, and the problem,
or
I think
I'm going to have to talk to their parents or something.
Exactly. I think the bigger problem is that the longer it goes unnoticed, like let's say something happens and it goes unnoticed for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened away at first, and then, maybe they looked at it while they were home, and, you were in the other room the second time, and then it happened again while they were away. Kids take what they can get. Like, we all do. I mean...
True, yes. But I don't think it's always inherently bad.
No, but in
but
the instances that it is...
Even if it's something that you would consider or I would consider bad. Say something bad happens at a sleepover where, like, it's affecting them. It's definitely affected them. And they come home and they're, at the age that your daughter is, you have, like, being that age, you struggle with, I don't know if I can tell my dad about this, or I don't know if I should tell my dad about this. Those weird things, like when you're at that age and you're just like, you can gauge what happens or how you're going to react, or because then you're like, I don't want him to act this way, so I'm just going to avoid that.
Right.
You have these things, but eventually it's going to affect them to a point where they don't have a choice, or you can pick up the read and be like, hey, what's going on?
Oh, no, absolutely.
And then they come to you because that you're their safe space, whether they believe it or not. It's just what you are to them.
And
it's what you always will be to them.
Just to clarify, when I said, this doesn't belong in anybody's hands unless it's for communication until they're 13,
mm-hmm.
It's for the content piece. It's for the Facebooks and the YouTubes and the Twitters and the Instagram,
yes,
especially Instagram.
100%.
But
100%.
And I think that until we, as a community or society, even as a country, say, and not necessarily in a legal fashion, but we can, we've been doing things without laws since we were incepted.
Mm-hmm.
Until we make a movement to say social media is not for children, we're going to keep running into this problem.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. It's that people let people do let children on these social media platforms.
That's the problem.
Yes, that is
just cut it. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
That's not a us problem.
That's an everybody problem.
We as parents, we choose to be. We can control that for our kids. We can be like, look, yeah, I know all the kids at school have Facebook. No.
Exactly. But we also have forum. We can be talking to buddy across the street, other people down the hall.
Yeah.
People at work. Did you hear about what they're doing now with kids and social media? They're saying this, this, and this. Okay. Maybe I'll look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't let my kids watch it. Maybe, 2 years' time.
But it all comes down to what the world as a whole has turned into, where, I mean, back when we were kids, there were a lot of households that had one parent home.
Fuck are you talking about? There still are.
There still are, yes, but they're a lot less likely to to be
viewed as poor. Well, that's a big thing. We can talk about that another time, but
yeah.
My point is, we get to decide what world we live in.
Yeah, you get to shape the world around you for sure.
Not even the world around us.
To an extent, but you can control how you look at it or how you choose to look at it. You have that option.
You could change the whole world with an idea big enough.
On that note, we'll save some more of this talk for next week, because I like getting into these talks. I was trying to cut us off for a while, but we kept going on such a good conversation.
I'm gonna keep going now.
I was just like, okay, like I can't just cut it off here because it's still going. Thanks to anybody who joined us and watched us while we were live. We appreciate anybody that comes in, even if you stay for 10 seconds, 30 seconds. If you stay the whole time, comment on any segments that you see from any of our stuff, any videos that you watch.
I thought you wanted to end this.
Feel free to comment, talk to us, follow us on Instagram. It's in the bio of the YouTube.
Thank you, guys.
You got to say the thing.
Say the thing.
Say the thing.
We're Dad's Game Room.
There we go.